Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to talk about a feeling that has plagued us all at some point in our lives: disappointment. Disappointment is a universal experience, a silent thief that steals our joy, dims our hope, and leaves us questioning our worth. But I stand before you today to tell you that it's time to stop being disappointed. Disappointment is the gap between our expectations and reality. It's the emotional experience that occurs when our hopes, dreams, or plans don't align with what actually happens. This feeling of loss can be profound, leaving us questioning our choices and direction in life. However, it's important to recognize that disappointment is not a destination, it's merely a detour on the road of life. It's a temporary emotional state, not a permanent condition. And how we navigate it can shape our future. Often we unknowingly set ourselves up for disappointment by placing unrealistic expectations on ourselves, others, and life in general. We construct idealized versions of how things should be, how people should behave, how situations should unfold, or how our lives should progress. These expectations are often rooted in our desires, shaped by our experiences, and influenced by societal standards. But life, in its unpredictable nature, rarely conforms to our carefully crafted plans. When reality falls short of these expectations, we experience a sense of loss. The gap between what we envision and what actually occurs can leave us feeling hurt, frustrated, and disillusioned. This is especially true when we invest significant time, energy, and emotion into something we deeply care about, only to have it turn out differently than we hoped. Yet, it's crucial to remember that disappointment is a natural part of the human experience. It serves as a reminder that life is not always within our control. Rather than allowing disappointment to derail us, we should view it as an opportunity to reassess our expectations and adapt to the realities we face. Disappointment challenges us to grow, to become more resilient, and to find new ways to align our hopes with the unpredictable nature of life. The feelings of hurt and frustration that accompany disappointment are valid, but they don't have to define us. By understanding that disappointment is a temporary state, we can begin to move beyond it. It's an emotional response to a specific situation, not a reflection of our overall worth or potential. The key is not to let disappointment linger and fester, but to acknowledge it, learn from it, and then let it go. In this process, we may discover that our expectations were unrealistic from the start. Perhaps we were expecting too much too soon, or we were hoping for an outcome that was never fully within our control. By adjusting our expectations to be more aligned with reality, we can reduce the likelihood of future disappointments and navigate the inevitable challenges of life with greater ease. The key to overcoming disappointment lies in changing our perspective. Instead of seeing disappointment as a failure, we should view it as an opportunity for growth. Disappointment is not meant to destroy us, but to develop us. It's a teacher guiding us to reassess our expectations, learn from our experiences, and adjust our approach. Every disappointment is a chance to pause, reflect, and recalibrate. It's an invitation to let go of what we thought should be and to embrace what is. When we shift our perspective, we move from being victims of disappointment to being victors over it. This shift is powerful because it allows us to take control of our narrative. We stop seeing disappointment as something that happens to us and start viewing it as something that works for us. When we experience disappointment, it's easy to get caught up in a cycle of negative thinking. We might dwell on what went wrong, replaying the event over and over in our minds, trying to figure out what we could have done differently. This kind of thinking can be paralyzing, keeping us stuck in the past and preventing us from moving forward. But by changing our perspective, we can break free from this cycle. We can choose to see disappointment not as an endpoint, but as a stepping stone on our journey. This perspective shift requires us to embrace a mindset of resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from setbacks, to rise after we fall, and to keep moving forward despite the obstacles in our way. It's about recognizing that disappointment is a natural part of life, but it doesn't have to define us. When we encounter disappointment, We can choose to see it as an opportunity to build our resilience. Each time we overcome a disappointment, we become stronger, more capable, and more prepared for whatever challenges come our way. Another important aspect of changing our perspective is learning to see the silver lining in every situation. Even in the midst of disappointment, there is often something positive to be found. Perhaps the disappointment led to an unexpected opportunity, or maybe it taught us a valuable lesson that we wouldn't have learned otherwise. By focusing on the positives, we can transform our experience of disappointment from something painful into something meaningful. Moreover, shifting our perspective also involves recognizing that disappointment is often a result of our attachment to a specific outcome. We become so focused on what we want to happen that we overlook other possibilities. When things don't go as planned, we feel disappointed because we were so invested in a particular result. But life is full of possibilities, and sometimes what we initially perceive as a setback is actually a redirection towards something better. This is why it's important to cultivate flexibility in our thinking. By being open to different outcomes and willing to adapt when things don't go as planned, we can reduce the impact of disappointment on our lives. Flexibility allows us to flow with life's changes rather than resisting them, making it easier to navigate the ups and downs that inevitably come our way. Ultimately, the power of perspective lies in our ability to choose how we interpret our experiences. We can choose to see disappointment as a sign of failure, or we can choose to see it as an opportunity for growth. We can choose to dwell on what didn't happen, or we can choose to focus on what we can learn from the experience. The choice is ours. One of the most significant sources of disappointment is unrealistic expectations. We expect life to be fair, people to be perfect, and our plans to always succeed. But life is unpredictable, people are flawed, and failure is a part of success. We need to let go of the belief that everything will always go our way. Instead of clinging to these unrealistic expectations, we should embrace the unpredictability of life. Accept that not everything will turn out as planned, and that's okay. Life's greatest lessons often come from the unexpected. When we release our grip on how we think things should be, we free ourselves from the chains of disappointment. This freedom allows us to experience life more fully, to appreciate the present moment without being burdened by unmet expectations. Expectations are powerful because they shape our perception of reality. When our expectations are unrealistic, they create a constant tension between what is and what we wish it to be. This tension is the breeding ground for disappointment, as it sets us up for failure before we even begin. By recognizing the unrealistic nature of some of our expectations, we can begin to adjust them to be more aligned with reality, reducing the frequency and intensity of our disappointments. Letting go of unrealistic expectations requires us to be honest with ourselves. We must examine the beliefs and assumptions that underpin our expectations and ask whether they are truly serving us. Are we expecting too much too soon? Are we holding ourselves or others to impossible standards? Are we trying to control things that are beyond our control? These are difficult questions, but they are necessary if we want to free ourselves from the cycle of disappointment. This process also involves cultivating a mindset of acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up or lowering our standards. It means acknowledging reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. It's about recognizing that life is a journey with twists and turns, not a straight path. By accepting that there will be detours and setbacks, we can approach life with greater flexibility and resilience. One of the most liberating aspects of letting go of unrealistic expectations is that it opens us up to new possibilities. When we stop insisting that things must go a certain way, we become more open to the opportunities that life presents. We begin to see that the unexpected can be a source of joy, growth, and discovery. Sometimes the path that life takes us on, though different from the one we envisioned, is exactly the path we needed. Furthermore, letting go of unrealistic expectations allows us to experience relationships more authentically. When we stop expecting perfection from others, we create space for genuine connection. We begin to appreciate people for who they are rather than who we want them to be. This shift not only reduces disappointment, but also deepens our relationships as we move away from judgment and towards acceptance and understanding. In our pursuit of goals, letting go of unrealistic expectations also helps us to be kinder to ourselves. We often set the bar impossibly high, expecting ourselves to achieve perfection in every area of life. But perfection is an illusion, and the pursuit of it can lead to burnout, stress, and chronic disappointment. By setting realistic, achievable goals, we can maintain our motivation and well-being and celebrate our progress rather than lamenting our perceived shortcomings. Letting go of unrealistic expectations also means embracing the idea that failure is not the opposite of success, but a part of it. Every failure is a learning opportunity, a stepping stone on the path to achieving our goals. When we expect to succeed without any setbacks, we set ourselves up for disappointment. But when we accept that failure is a natural part of the process, we can approach our endeavors with a sense of curiosity and resilience. We learn to see each setback not as a defeat, but as a valuable lesson that brings us closer to our ultimate success. In essence, letting go of unrealistic expectations is about embracing life as it is, with all its imperfections, uncertainties, and surprises. It's about relinquishing the need for control and trusting in the process of life. It's about finding peace in the midst of unpredictability and discovering the beauty in the unexpected. So as we move forward in life, let us strive to hold our expectations lightly. Let us be open to the possibility that life may unfold in ways we cannot predict or control. And let us find comfort in knowing that even when things don't go as planned, there is always something to be learned, something to be gained, and something to be grateful for. By letting go of unrealistic expectations, we free ourselves from the weight of disappointment and open ourselves up to the infinite possibilities that life has to offer. We become more resilient, more adaptable, and more capable of finding joy and fulfillment in the present moment, regardless of the circumstances. And in doing so, we discover that life, in all its unpredictability, is far more beautiful and rewarding than we could have ever imagined. Resilience is the antidote to disappointment. It's the ability to bounce back from setbacks, to rise after we fall, and to keep moving forward despite the obstacles in our way. Resilience is not about avoiding disappointment, it's about learning to deal with it effectively. When disappointment strikes, it's natural to feel hurt, frustrated, or even defeated. Allow yourself to feel these emotions. After all, they are part of the healing process. But don't dwell on them. Acknowledge the pain, but don't let it define you. Use it as fuel to propel you forward, not as a weight to hold you back. Remember, every setback is a setup for a comeback. It's an opportunity to tap into your inner strength and to grow stronger through adversity. Resilience is not something we are born with, it's something we develop over time through experience. Each time we face disappointment and choose to rise above it, we build our resilience. We become more equipped to handle future challenges, more confident in our ability to overcome obstacles, and more determined to achieve our goals. Resilience is like a muscle. The more we use it, the stronger it becomes. One of the keys to building resilience is to maintain a forward-looking perspective. When we encounter disappointment, it's easy to get stuck in the past, replaying the events that led to our setback and wondering what we could have done differently. But while reflection is important, dwelling on the past can keep us trapped in a cycle of regret and self-doubt. To build resilience, we must focus on the future, on what we can do next, on how we can learn from the experience, and on how we can move forward. Resilience also involves being adaptable. Life is unpredictable and things don't always go according to plan. When we are rigid in our thinking, we are more likely to be crushed by disappointment. But when we are adaptable, when we are willing to change our approach, to find new ways to reach our goals, and to see challenges as opportunities for growth, we become more resilient. We learn to navigate life's twists and turns with greater ease, and we become better equipped to handle whatever comes our way. Another important aspect of resilience is self-compassion. When we experience disappointment, it's common to be hard on ourselves, to blame ourselves for what went wrong, or to feel like we're not good enough. But self-compassion is crucial for resilience. It means treating ourselves with kindness and understanding, just as we would treat a friend who is going through a tough time. It means recognizing that disappointment is a part of life, not a reflection of our worth. By being gentle with ourselves, we create a safe space to heal and to gather the strength we need to keep moving forward. Resilience also thrives in community. While resilience is often thought of as an individual trait, it's important to remember that we don't have to go through tough times alone. Seeking support from friends, family, or mentors can be incredibly empowering. Sharing our struggles with others can lighten the emotional load, offer new perspectives, and remind us that we are not alone in our journey. Building connections with others who uplift and encourage us can strengthen our resilience and help us navigate disappointment more effectively. Another way to cultivate resilience is by setting realistic goals and breaking them down into manageable steps. Disappointment often stems from aiming too high too quickly without recognizing the steps needed to get there. By setting achievable goals and celebrating small victories along the way, we build momentum and confidence, which are essential for resilience. Each small success reinforces our belief in our ability to overcome obstacles and keeps us motivated to continue moving forward. We live in a world of instant gratification where we expect quick results and immediate success. But true success is a journey, not a destination. It requires patience, persistence, and trust in the process. Sometimes what we perceive as a disappointment is simply a delay in our journey. Trust in the process means believing that there is a bigger picture even when we can't see it. It's about having faith that everything is unfolding as it should, even when the path is unclear or when progress seems slow. In a culture that often celebrates overnight success, it's easy to become discouraged when things don't happen as quickly as we'd like. But real, lasting success is rarely achieved in an instant. It's the result of consistent effort, learning from failures and growing through challenges. Trust that everything happens for a reason and that every disappointment has a purpose. It may not make sense now, but in time, you'll see that every setback was a stepping stone to something greater. Sometimes, the things we desire most are not meant to come to us immediately. The process of working toward our goals, facing obstacles, and overcoming disappointments shapes us into the person capable of handling the success we seek. Trusting the process also means accepting that delays and detours are a natural part of any journey. We may plan our path meticulously, but life has a way of surprising us with unexpected turns. These detours are not failures, they are opportunities for growth and learning. They teach us patience, resilience, and the importance of adaptability. By trusting the process, we allow ourselves to embrace these lessons and grow from them, rather than becoming discouraged by them. One of the key elements of trusting the process is patience. Patience allows us to stay committed to our goals even when progress is slow. It helps us to stay focused on the long-term vision rather than getting distracted or disheartened by short-term setbacks. Patience teaches us to appreciate the journey, to value the small steps we take each day, and to recognize that every effort, no matter how small, brings us closer to our goal. Persistence is another crucial aspect of trusting the process. When we encounter disappointment, it's tempting to give up, to abandon our dreams because they seem too difficult to achieve. But persistence is what separates those who succeed from those who don't. It's the willingness to keep going, even when the road is tough, even when the results are not immediate. Persistence is the acknowledgement that success is not a straight line, but a series of ups and downs, and that every challenge is an opportunity to prove our dedication to our goals. Trusting the process also requires us to let go of the need for immediate validation. In our quest for success, we often look for signs that we're on the right track, that our efforts are paying off. But sometimes the results are not visible right away. Just because we can't see the fruits of our labor doesn't mean they're not growing beneath the surface. By trusting the process, we learn to find satisfaction in the work itself, knowing that the results will come in their own time. It's important to remember that the process itself is just as valuable as the outcome. The skills we develop, the knowledge we gain, the relationships we build, and the person we become along the way are all part of the journey. When we trust the process, we begin to see that the journey is not just a means to an end, but a rich and rewarding experience in its own right. Moreover, trusting the process means embracing uncertainty. Life is full of unknowns, and no matter how much we plan, we can't predict the future with absolute certainty. This uncertainty can be a source of anxiety, but it can also be a source of excitement. When we trust the process, we learn to embrace the unknown, to see it as a realm of possibilities rather than a threat. We become more open to new experiences, more willing to take risks, and more capable of adapting to whatever life throws our way. Finally, trusting the process is about maintaining a sense of hope and optimism. It's about believing that no matter how difficult the journey, the outcome will be worth it. It's about holding on to our vision, even when the path is unclear, and trusting that every step we take brings us closer to our goal. When we trust the process, we are able to persevere through disappointment, knowing that every setback is temporary and that success is on the horizon. Disappointment often stems from our interactions with others, family, friends, colleagues, or even strangers. We expect people to behave a certain way to meet our needs or to understand us without having to explain. When they fall short of these expectations, we feel let down. To stop being disappointed in our relationships, we need to manage our expectations. Understand that people are not mind readers. They have their own lives, struggles, and perspectives that may not align with ours. Instead of expecting others to always meet our needs, let's communicate openly, set realistic expectations, and give grace when people fall short. One of the first steps in managing expectations in relationships is recognizing that everyone is different. Each person has their own unique experiences, beliefs, and values that shape their actions and reactions. When we expect others to behave exactly as we would or to see things from our perspective, we set ourselves up for disappointment. By acknowledging and respecting these differences, we can approach our relationships with greater understanding and compassion. Communication is key to managing expectations. Often, disappointment arises not because someone intentionally let us down, but because there was a lack of clear communication. We assume that others know what we want or need, but assumptions can lead to misunderstandings. Instead of assuming, we should strive to communicate our needs, desires, and boundaries clearly and respectfully. When we express ourselves openly, we give others the opportunity to meet our expectations or to let us know if they can't, which allows us to adjust our expectations accordingly. It's also important to recognize that everyone has limitations. Just as we are not perfect, neither are the people in our lives. They may have their own challenges, stresses, and responsibilities that affect their ability to meet our expectations. By setting realistic expectations and understanding that people can only give what they are capable of at any given time, we can reduce the likelihood of feeling disappointed. This doesn't mean lowering our standards or accepting mistreatment, but rather being mindful of what is reasonable to expect from others. Giving grace when people fall short is another crucial aspect of managing expectations in relationships. When someone disappoints us, it's easy to feel hurt or frustrated. But rather than holding on to resentment, we can choose to extend grace. This means offering forgiveness, understanding that everyone makes mistakes, and recognizing that disappointment is a natural part of relationships. By practicing grace, we create space for growth and healing, both for ourselves and for the other person. It's also beneficial to focus on the positives in our relationships rather than dwelling on the negatives. No relationship is perfect, and there will always be moments of disappointment. But by choosing to focus on the good qualities and the positive experiences we share with others, we can cultivate a more balanced and appreciative view of our relationships. This doesn't mean ignoring problems, but rather approaching them with a mindset of gratitude and a willingness to work through challenges together. Another important aspect of managing expectations in relationships is learning to take responsibility for our own happiness. It's easy to fall into the trap of expecting others to fulfill our emotional needs or to make us happy. But the truth is, our happiness is our responsibility. When we place the burden of our happiness on others, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Instead, we should focus on cultivating our own sense of fulfillment and well-being and see our relationships as a source of joy and connection rather than a means to an end. This mindset shift can also help us to be more independent and less reliant on others for validation. When we are secure in ourselves, we are less likely to be disappointed by others because we are not constantly seeking their approval or affirmation. This doesn't mean we don't value our relationships, but rather that we approach them from a place of wholeness, where we can give and receive love and support without being overly dependent on others for our sense of self-worth. It's also important to manage our expectations in the context of the role each person plays in our lives. For example, expecting a casual acquaintance to be as supportive as a close friend is unrealistic and likely to lead to disappointment. By being mindful of the nature of each relationship and adjusting our expectations accordingly, we can avoid unnecessary disappointment and appreciate each relationship for what it is. Finally, it's crucial to remember that relationships are a two-way street. Just as we have expectations of others, they have expectations of us. By being mindful of this reciprocity, we can strive to meet others' expectations in the same way we hope they will meet ours. This involves being reliable, communicative, and considerate, and being willing to put in the effort to nurture and maintain our relationships. Gratitude is a powerful antidote to disappointment. When we focus on what we have rather than what we lack, we shift our mindset from one of scarcity to one of abundance. Disappointment often arises from focusing on what didn't happen, what we didn't get, or what went wrong. By practicing gratitude, we redirect our attention to the good in our lives, which can transform our experience of disappointment into one of appreciation and contentment. Cultivating a habit of gratitude begins with acknowledging the small blessings in our lives. It's easy to take for granted the things that go right every day: the roof over our heads, the food on our table, the relationships that bring us joy, and even the challenges that help us grow. By consciously recognizing these positives, we train our minds to focus on what's going well rather than what's lacking. This shift in focus can have a profound impact on how we perceive and respond to disappointment. Gratitude also helps us to gain perspective on our disappointments. When we're in the midst of a setback, or when things don't go as planned, it's easy to get caught up in negative emotions. But by stepping back and reflecting on what we're grateful for, we can see that despite the challenges, there is still much to appreciate. This broader perspective can diminish the sting of disappointment and remind us that setbacks are just one part of a much larger and often more positive picture. One practical way to incorporate gratitude into our lives is by keeping a gratitude journal. Each day, take a few moments to write down something you're thankful for. It doesn't have to be anything grand. Sometimes the smallest things can bring the most joy. This daily practice can help rewire our brains to look for the good in every situation, making it easier to navigate disappointment with grace and resilience. Over time, as we reflect on our growing list of blessings, we may find that our capacity for gratitude expands, even in the face of challenges. Gratitude also strengthens our relationships. When we express appreciation for the people in our lives, we build deeper connections and create a positive cycle of mutual respect and kindness. Instead of focusing on how others may have disappointed us, we can choose to focus on the ways they've supported and enriched our lives. This doesn't mean ignoring issues that need to be addressed, but rather balancing our expectations with an acknowledgement of the good that others bring into our lives. By regularly expressing gratitude to those around us, we not only lift their spirits, but also foster an environment of positivity and encouragement. Moreover, practicing gratitude can improve our emotional resilience. When we develop the habit of focusing on the positive, we build a mental buffer against life's inevitable disappointments. Gratitude helps us to see challenges as temporary and surmountable rather than insurmountable roadblocks. It empowers us to find the silver lining in difficult situations and to maintain a hopeful outlook even when things don't go as planned. This resilience allows us to bounce back from disappointment more quickly and with a renewed sense of purpose. Gratitude also encourages us to live in the present moment. Disappointment often arises from dwelling on the past or worrying about the future and what could have been or what might go wrong. But gratitude anchors us in the present, reminding us to appreciate what we have here and now. When we're fully present, we're less likely to be overwhelmed by regret or anxiety and more likely to find joy in the moment. This shift in focus can reduce feelings of disappointment and help us to savor the richness of our current experiences. Another aspect of gratitude is its ability to shift our mindset from one of entitlement to one of humility. When we expect life to go our way, we set ourselves up for disappointment. But when we approach life with a sense of humility and appreciation for what we have, we become more content and less prone to frustration. Gratitude helps us to recognize that everything we have is a gift, not something we're owed. This perspective fosters a deeper sense of satisfaction and reduces the impact of disappointment. Incorporating gratitude into our daily lives can also enhance our overall well-being. Numerous studies have shown that practicing gratitude can lead to increased happiness, improved physical health, and greater psychological resilience. By focusing on what we're thankful for, we not only reduce the effects of disappointment, but also enhance our overall quality of life. Gratitude shifts our focus from what's missing to what's present, allowing us to experience more joy, peace, and fulfillment. Perfectionism is a major source of disappointment. When we set impossibly high standards for ourselves or others, we are bound to be disappointed when reality falls short. Accepting imperfection means understanding that flaws, mistakes, and failures are part of life. It means recognizing that no one is perfect, and that perfection is an unattainable ideal that can often lead to frustration and dissatisfaction. Instead of striving for perfection, aim for progress. Progress is about making incremental improvements and taking meaningful steps toward your goals, regardless of whether you achieve perfection. It's about celebrating the small victories and acknowledging the effort and growth involved in every step of the journey. Each small achievement, no matter how minor it may seem, is a testament to your perseverance and dedication. By focusing on progress, you cultivate a mindset that values effort and learning over an unattainable ideal of perfection. Learning from mistakes is another crucial aspect of accepting imperfection. Mistakes are inevitable and are often the best teachers we have. They provide valuable lessons and insights that can lead to greater wisdom and improvement. When we approach mistakes with curiosity rather than self-criticism, we open ourselves up to growth and development. Each mistake is an opportunity to reassess our approach, to learn something new, and to become better equipped for future challenges. Recognizing that imperfection is not a sign of failure, but of being human is essential for reducing disappointment. When we accept that everyone has flaws and makes mistakes, we can approach ourselves and others with greater empathy and understanding. Imperfection is a natural part of the human experience, and acknowledging this allows us to embrace our humanity with grace. It's a reminder that we don't need to be flawless to be valuable or worthy of success and happiness. Embracing imperfection also means letting go of the fear of failure. Many people avoid taking risks or trying new things because they fear making mistakes or falling short of perfection. However, it is through taking risks and facing challenges that we grow and discover our true potential. By accepting that failure is a part of the learning process, we can overcome the fear that often holds us back and take bold steps toward our goals. Failure is not the end, it is simply a stepping stone on the path to success. Furthermore, embracing imperfection allows us to develop resilience. When we accept that setbacks and challenges are a normal part of life, we become better equipped to handle them. Resilience is built through facing difficulties and learning to navigate them with grace. By accepting imperfection, we cultivate a mindset that sees obstacles as opportunities rather than insurmountable barriers. This shift in perspective helps us to bounce back from disappointment with renewed strength and determination. It's also important to extend this acceptance of imperfection to our relationships with others. Just as we are imperfect, so are the people around us. When we hold others to unrealistic standards of perfection, we set ourselves up for disappointment and create unnecessary conflict. Instead, by embracing the imperfections of those we care about, We foster more genuine and supportive relationships. We learn to appreciate people for who they are rather than for how closely they align with our idealized expectations. In addition, accepting imperfection can lead to a greater sense of fulfillment and satisfaction. When we let go of the constant pursuit of perfection, we create space for contentment and appreciation of what is. We learn to find joy in the journey, in the progress we make, and in the small, everyday moments that might otherwise be overshadowed by the quest for perfection. This shift in focus allows us to live a more balanced and fulfilling life, where we can celebrate our achievements and embrace our imperfections with a sense of peace. By practicing self-compassion and embracing imperfection, we also become better equipped to handle criticism and setbacks. When we are kind to ourselves and accept our flaws, we are less likely to be discouraged by negative feedback or by things not going as planned. We understand that imperfection is a natural part of growth and development. And we approach challenges with a mindset of resilience and openness. Learning to accept imperfection is a powerful way to reduce disappointment and lead a more fulfilling life. By shifting our focus from unattainable perfection to meaningful progress, celebrating small victories, learning from mistakes, and recognizing the inherent value of being human, we create a more compassionate and resilient mindset. Embracing imperfection allows us to navigate life's ups and downs with greater ease, to build stronger relationships, and to find joy in the journey. So as you face challenges and setbacks, remember that imperfection is not a flaw, but a testament to your humanity and growth. Embrace it, celebrate your progress, and continue to move forward with grace and determination. In conclusion, navigating the landscape of disappointment involves more than just managing our reactions. It requires a fundamental shift in how we approach life. By understanding that disappointment is merely a detour, not a destination, we can transform setbacks into opportunities for growth. By changing our perspective, letting go of unrealistic expectations, embracing resilience, trusting the process, and practicing gratitude, we create a foundation of strength and positivity that can sustain us through life's inevitable challenges. Furthermore, learning to accept imperfection and embracing our humanity allows us to live more authentically and joyfully. Perfection is an illusion, progress is reality. When we accept that we and those around us are perfectly imperfect, we pave the way for deeper connections, greater self-compassion, and a more fulfilling life. As we move forward, let us remember that disappointment is not a reflection of our worth or our potential, but rather a reminder of our capacity to adapt, learn, and grow. Every challenge we face is an opportunity to strengthen our resolve, deepen our understanding, and appreciate the richness of the journey. So I encourage you to embrace each day with an open heart and a resilient spirit. Celebrate the small victories, learn from the setbacks, and always find reasons to be grateful. By doing so, you will not only overcome disappointment, but also build a life filled with meaning, joy, and resilience. Thank you.